It's Miss Brock, and I'm back. And I'm here with Miss Broccoli. We're rocking our summer hair. We got braids and just enjoying the summer. So you've heard of a green thumb. It means you can grow garden vegetables good. I hope you're getting good garden vegetables this summer and lots of fun. And I hope you're reading lots of books. If you need a recommendation, you know I love the Cullman Public Library. And this one is from Max, let's see if I can say his name, Lucado. And he has two others there, I think that's already been read on your show, called You Are Special and You Are Mine. I love these, but they've already been read, but I like this one the best, actually. It's If I Only Had a Green Nose. So if you're looking for a kind of a longer book, and if you like Max Lucado, go check these out. Okay, this one is If I Only Had a Green Nose, illustrated by Sergio Martinez and written by Max Lucado. Lucia and Punchinello looked out the window at the elf workshop. Like other Wimowacks, they were wooden people, but other Wimwicks, they weren't standing in a line at the village below. Look at them all, Punchinello exclaimed. I don't understand it. Lucilla wondered. Why would anyone want to paint their nose green? Because everyone else is, Eli responded without looking up from his workbench. Punchinello didn't understand. What do you mean? Everyone wants to look like everyone else. Sometimes it's square hats. Sometimes it's tall shoes. Why, last year, the big thing was yellow ears. And now it's a green nose. Everyone wants a green nose. Does a green nose make them smarter? Punchinello asked. No, Eli said. Does a green nose make them stronger? No. Does a green nose make them faster? No. Then what does a green nose make them? Eli looked up and smiled. Greener. But his smile left as he looked out the window at the long line of Wemmicks. They think they'll be happier if they look like everyone else. But I made them different on purpose. Freckles, with long nose, with bright eyes, with dark eyes. These were my ideals. And now they just all want to look the same. Not me, said Lucia. I'm happy just the way you made me. Me too, agreed Punchinello. I don't need a green nose to feel special. Then he paused and looked at the village. But I would like to see how a green nose looked up close. Want to go? Eli smiled as the two stood to leave. Just remember, I made you different on purpose, he told them. From the street level, and the line looked even longer and the noses even greener. Lucilla and her Punchinello worked their way to the front of the crowd as they watched the Wemmicks one after another step onto the nose-coloring store and came out painted. It's the latest thing, barked a Wemmick on the sidewalk. Don't be the only Wemmick that has with a plain nose and that doesn't have one. Who's that? Asked Punchinello. Lucilla shrugged. I don't know. Why, that's Mr. Willie Whitt, volunteered a Wemmick from behind them. Does he run this nose painting store? Asked Punchinello. More than that, the Wemmick explained. Painted noses were his idea. So were the square hats and the tall shoes and the yellow ears. New things are his thing. He decides what's with it. Isn't he the best? Lucilla and Punchinello took a good look at this Wemmick with the deep voice and the big smile and the tall hat and the green bow tie that matched his oh-so-green great nose. And both were thinking the same question. Lucia asked it. Who made him the new thing picker? The Wemmick looked puzzled, like he'd never been asked that question. Well, I don't know. He always has. Then his eyes brightened. Wait, look, here comes a new nose. Ooh, said the Wemmicks. Ah, admired some others. The just painted Wemmick didn't stop to speak. He just kept his nose in the air and walked past. All green-nosed Wemmicks did this. After all, how could your nose be seen if it wasn't in the air? Walking around the high nose, however, was risky. Wemmicks walked into walls, doors, and each other. Lucia and Punchinello had to be very careful. One Wemmick took up the whole street. Step back, he announced. It's the mayor. Make way. Every Wemmick, my wife is coming in for a touch-up. With one hand, he waved back the citizens. With the other, he guided her through the crowd. Horrible, just horrible, she cried, covering her nose with both hands. It chipped some paint when I bumped into a tree. Now the real me is showing. It's horrible, just horrible. As the crowd passed, Lucia shook her head. Such a fuss over a green nose? Yeah, Punchinello, you'd never catch me with a green in that green nose coloring store. Oh, Punchinello, I was hoping you would go. Punchinello recognized the voice immediately. Twiggy? He turned around and looked at the wide-eyed, sweet-smiling Wemmick. His ears began to turn red. They always did when he saw her. He reached up and covered them. Why don't you paint your nose, Punch? I painted mine. Everyone else is painting theirs. Besides, you look good in green. Twiggy reached up and touched the tip of his nose. Yours is so cute. And with that, she turned and walked away. Bye-bye, she waved. Puncella moved one hand from his ear to his nose. He turned and looked at his reflection in the store window. Lucilla had grabbed his hand to get his attention. Come on, Puncella, let's go. As he walked past the store, he noticed Willie Whit examining his nose in a handheld mirror. Later at home, he did the same thing. I never noticed before, but my nose sure looks pale. The next morning, Puncella walked down the street with his friends, Splant and Woody. Are you really thinking about it? Woody asked. Sort of, Puncella answered. They say the paint stings your nose, Woody volunteered. And it stinks, Splant added. The brush could get in your eyes, Woody continued. And the only thing that comes off with is sandpaper, Splant nodded. Shh! Puncella put a finger to his lips and pointed at the large crowd of green-nosed women standing in the square. Something's going on. The mayor was standing on a platform. His wife, nose freshly painted, and Willie Whit were on either side of him. Welcome, one and all, to your first meeting of the Nosy Wimelex Club, he announced. Your glistening green sets you apart from the With It Wemmicks. As a With It Wemmick. As if on cue, the Wemmicks began to stroke their green noses. You're classy. You're keen. You're awesome. You're green. Proud of his poetry, the mayor smiled and the Wemmicks applauded. We all owe it to Willie With It, they shouted over the noise. The pioneer of the painted snout. Everyone applauded even louder. People love me because of you, one shouted. I have more friends, cried another. With green noses, I'm a better Wemmick, exclaimed a third. The mayor hung a medal around the neck of Willie With It. You have changed the face of Wemmicksville. We salute your brilliance. Without you, we'd all look like... The mayor paused, looking for the right words, and then he saw Puncella and his friends. Pointing in the direction, he declared with a scornful laugh, them. Everyone else laughed too. Puncella and his two friends lowered their heads, covered their noses. Let's hear it for Willie With It, shouted the mayor, and the Wemmicks who discovered the cure for the common nose. As the town people shouted and applauded, Woody, Splant, and Puncella quickly turned and walked away. They did not stop until they stood in front of the nose coloring shop. And within a matter of minutes, all three were painted, walking down Wemmick Lane. Hey, Puncella, asked Splant, pushing his nose upward. Am I doing it right? Puncella didn't look. I can't see you, Splant. If I turn my nose, it won't be in the air. Whew, this is tough work, Woody added. Not only do you have to get painted, but you have to walk all weird. Yeah, but doesn't it feel great to be with it? Puncella asked. And for a few days it did. They hung out with the other green noses and made weekly visit to the nose curist for a nose polish. They brought nose gloves for cold days from the nose and nosebrellas for rainy days. And all three read Willie With It's new book, Winter by a Nose. And most of all, they enjoyed looking down their noses at the unpainted Wemmicks. One day when they were feeling especially smug, Splint said to Puncella, I just can't imagine who wouldn't have a green nose. Puncella agreed. Anyone without a green nose is so what? A voice interrupted. It was Lucilla. Puncella was embarrassed. I haven't seen you in a while, he said. You haven't seen anyone in a long time, she replied, except yourself. He started to speak, but he didn't. He was all bothered by what she said. And he was even more bothered by what he saw. He saw it. The next morning, as the three were walking into Wemmicksville, standing on the other side of the road was a Wemmick with a red nose. He needs to get with it, they said to each other. But then they saw another Wemmick that also had a red nose. Then a third, a fourth. By the time they were in the village, they were surrounded by red-nosed Wemmicks. And those who weren't red were in line to have them painted. Step right up, shouted Willie With It from the steps of his store. Green noses are out, red noses are in. But we just got our nose painted green, they told him. No problem, he replied. Our red will cover up the green. Step right up and get in style. The three friends looked at each other sadly. We thought we were in style, Woody moaned. What could they do but stand in line and have their nose painted red? For a few days, they fitted in, until one morning, they saw a blue's nose swimming. Oh no, they said to each other, not again. So they changed colors. But it was only a short time until blue noses were out, pink noses were out, then pink noses were out, and yellow noses were in. Then yellow was out, then orange was in. Soon Punchella and his buddies had so many layers of paint on their noses, they couldn't remember what they really looked like. This has to be the final color, they said the day they walked out with orange noses. But once again, they were wrong. I'm so tired of this, Woody moaned when he saw a purple painted Wemmick. I wish my nose was common again. The three sat on a rock and hung their heads. Me too, agreed Punchella. I should have listened to Eli. You think he would help us? Why not? Why don't you ask him? All three turned to the sound of a familiar voice. Lucilla said, he talks about you every day, she told them. Is he mad? Punchella wondered. Sad, but not mad. Punchella looked at Eli, up towards Eli's house on the hill. He told me to tell you to come, Lucilla spoke again. Could I take my friends? Of course. Would you go with me? Certainly. And the four of them began to walk up the hill to Eli's house. And when they reached the top of the hill, Eli stopped out of the workshop and began walking towards them. He met them in the yard, and one by one he examined their noses. Been trying to fit in, huh? Punchella nodded. Did you succeed? Not really. Every time we got close, someone changed the rules. That's the way it is. My neck's hurt from sticking my nose in the air, Woody added. You weren't built to walk that way. We just want to be ourselves again, Splint said. I'm glad to hear that. Can we? Of course you can, Eli replied. I'll always help you be who I made you to be. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of sandpaper, but it's going to take some time. And so Punchella and his friends followed their maker into the workshop, where he spent the rest of their day removing the paint. It hurt to be sanded, but it was worth it.